Boy, do I have an episode for you. We're going to get through loads of different articles, headlines, and just bring everyone up to speed on where we are and talk about more bullish information as it relates to XRP, Ripple, cross-border payments, and all of that. Let's get into it. Now, this isn't new news, but it's a little bit of information that I think just everyone kind of missed and is really, really important. So as you'll remember, Ripple secured an in-principle license to basically do their business in Singapore. And they're given this by the Monetary Authority of Singapore. We've talked about this at length in previous videos, so go back and watch. But one of the Ripple executives was asked how this license actually even affects the company's business in Asia. And listen to this bit right down in here. Ripple said the license allows them to expand customer use of its on-demand liquidity service. Right? That's really all we need to know. The license allows them to increase participation in on-demand liquidity. If we get increased participation in on-demand liquidity, it means we have a higher desire to buy and hold XRP as an asset in order to facilitate payments. It then starts that virtuous cycle where people want to hold it and use it for its utility. The next clip I want to get into was from XRP Las Vegas, right? I didn't go to XRP Las Vegas, but many people did. If you did, leave it in the comments and let us know what it was like. But there was one speech and Bob Way was on the stage. And he's in charge of a project that has created a metaverse basically on the XRP ledger. And he said something that everyone missed. And I had a conversation yesterday with Jake Claver and he said, do you ever see that clip of Bob Way when he said this? And I was like, no, I didn't hear that actually. And it has really big implications and really puts XRP into a category that you wouldn't have imagined. So let's get into it.
And it's built on the XRP.
Did you hear that? I'm going to play that again.
Because the XRP is a fantastic platform for identity and money and ownership of.
Identity, money, and ownership. Okay? We always typically think of XRP from the payment side of things, the money side of things. But he said identity, right? This is AML, KYC, it's all of those things. And he's saying that the XRP ledger is the best for that, right? It's really good for that. In addition to the payments, he even said it before payments. I find that really interesting because if you're talking about XRP, the first thing you're going to talk about is payments, right? Then if there are additional benefits to the XRPL, you'll say those in that order. But he said identity first. I found that very, very interesting. And that's interesting because when we look at the Financial Conduct Authority, for example, they're spending a lot of time trying to figure out the regulation and the way AML works. Like this is really a big part of that framework that delivers us to the utility world, where we're using blockchain and crypto assets to make the world go round. AML, KYC is a massive conversation and a big hurdle in that whole progress. Now let's get into a report that is from a company called PWC. Now this is a company I mentioned so long ago because I found a document from PWC saying that they were going to offer custody and generate a yield from your custody in the bank of these digital assets. And it's been dead silence since that point about cryptocurrency with PWC. But here we are with a document that came out in 2023, this year, that essentially shows at a glance all of the regulations across all the countries and where all the countries stand on cryptocurrency. And you can see AML, obviously, as I was saying, is a really important element of all of this, makes up a quarter of the things that they're looking at to make sure that cryptocurrencies can be used, right? So we've got regulatory framework, we've got AML, we've got travel rule and stablecoins used for payments. These seem to be the priority for at least PWC in defining whether a country is on board with crypto or not. And so you look across all of this, you've got regulatory framework that seems to be we're in progress in the UK, but we've got AML sorted, that's wonderful. We've got the travel rule sorted and stablecoins used for payments. The pencil means pending final legislation. Now, as you go down this list, you start to see countries that are actually fully ready to go with cryptocurrencies. We've got Bahamas here across the board, ticks across the board. We've got the Cayman Islands. That's really good for those who are trying to be tax efficient. At least you know that the Cayman Islands are ready. Gibraltar, Japan, as we know that the traffic of XRP in Japan and the willingness for Japan to use blockchain technology is very high. Then we come down even further. We've got Mauritius, we've got Switzerland, and the UAE being some of the countries that have almost ticks across the board here. What I do want to say is that it seems like the Caribbean islands are getting ready for an influx of rich people, right? Because there's already an influx of rich people that go there anyway for the tax benefits. But these countries also seem to be ready for the new wealthy to come in, the new 1%, me and you. Now, one of the more shocking things I kind of saw here was that the US and the UK is basically ranked the same in terms of progress, which is not true, which makes me kind of think I'm not even looking at this really anymore. And you can go through this document. The links are all in the first comment, in my pinned comment on this video. And I'm just not entirely sure that I believe all of the answers in here, like Qatar being no across the board to cryptocurrencies. I don't think so. Now, a little update on something I made a video on previously was the idea of how cryptocurrencies are going to be taxed in the UK. And it was basically rejected by the lawmakers very recently to regulate crypto as gambling. So they are not treating cryptocurrency as gambling. Okay, this is actually a step. I know it doesn't sound like much, but this is a real step into understanding how governments are going to be looking at cryptocurrency. Because if you went back 2 years ago, most certainly every bank would have been saying crypto is a scam, it's a gamble, we don't want you to be involving yourself in risky behavior such as cryptocurrency. But now that's really been put to bed. We're not treating crypto as gambling anymore. This is something different. What is it? I am looking forward to finding out. Now, for the big piece of news in today's video, the one you've all been waiting for. We talked about in a previous video how the Swiss Central Bank, the Bank of France, Monetary Authority of Singapore, and R3 were all working together to test out a wholesale CBDC. They actually participated in multiple of these projects made by the Bank of International Settlements, and they were all a success. Now, we've seen the Digital Pound Foundation today just kind of posted about this, saying that the Bank of France has revealed the wholesale CBDC experiment findings. Basically, how did it all go? And I actually think the most important element of all of this isn't that they can now send their payments cross-border very well, and you can use CBDCs to exchange value between central banks. Wonderful. Like, we already know that. That's exciting. But the thing that's really exciting to me is this little part right here. The bank's pioneering work involved testing decentralized finance, or DeFi tools, and proof testing by testing its own DLT. Additionally, the Bank of France collaborated with other central banks in projects like Project Mariana. Now remember, Project Mariana was the AMM, okay? Was AMM exploring optimized wholesale CBDC liquidity through a pool managed on a shared platform. A pool shared on a managed platform. A liquidity pool shared on the same blockchain. A blockchain that provides liquidity. That's interesting. And so I was looking all around, kind of getting more information. I wanted to get to the source report of all of these things. And I want to give the overall thoughts that Bank of France has about all of the projects that have been involved, and especially for cross-border payments with CBDCs. Let me get into it. These 12 experiments, which were all carried out successfully with our partners, central banks and commercial banks, in a public-private partnership, have provided us with the assurance that central bank money can be provided in a tokenized form to settle tokenized assets and improve cross-border payments. That is all I need to know, okay? If we've got R3, and I know many people in the comments said, isn't XDC R3's native asset? I can't share too much. Just trust me, they're using XRP. I don't know how else to say it, and I'm probably going to get hate for saying just trust me, but I'm going to remain quiet about it from this moment on. But just so you know, it's my own personal conviction that when we hear R3, based on the conversations I've heard and the people that I know and connected to, I believe they're using XRP. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there, and that will tell you why I'm so excited about when the Bank of France or the Swiss Central Bank and R3 all work together on these projects, and the Bank of International Settlements, and when they're using AMMs for a liquidity pool on a platform, you know, this is exciting. And so we know from this Bank of France report that it was all successful, and that CBDCs can be settled and transferred in tokenized form to improve cross-border payments. That is all we need to know. So let's look at the new horizons for cross-border payments and see what they have to say. Regarding cross-border payments, Bank of France's approach complements recent conceptual work conducted by the IMF and BIS. The IMF has been reflecting on how DLT could be used to serve public policy objectives, with a particular focus on the design of a multi-currency DLT platform to facilitate cross-border payments and FX transactions. Similarly, the BIS is elaborating on the design of a single platform through the concept of a unified ledger, which aims to bring together on a single DLT all kinds of tokenized assets, including tokenized deposits and CBDCs. Both are promising concepts which call for further work, to which the Bank of France will be happy to contribute, including through further experiments. So essentially what I'm seeing here is that they're looking at it as we've got two options. The good news for us is that I think both of those options include XRP, personally. One option is that we use a multi-currency platform. So let's say we use R3, for example, and R3 can facilitate, it's interoperable, right? It can facilitate all these different currencies, and obviously underneath it's using XRP, in my opinion. Or the other option is that we use, let's say, just the XRPL, and we facilitate the trade on that kind of unified ledger. In my mind, it seems the best option to go for the interoperable way of things. If you're going interoperable, you're going with R3 to facilitate, the networks between all these different blockchains, the connections. R3 are simply the best at that. I think that makes more sense than to have it all on the XRPL. But something interesting going down here is that you look at tokenization as a whole. You've got Project Jura, which is a BIS project. You've got Euroclear in the tokenization side of things. Euroclear is a Ripple partner. And right at the bottom of that report, you wouldn't see this if you just read the report and you didn't keep scrolling down. But this was right underneath, okay? So let's look at this. This is saying there are kind of two different areas for these cross-border payments, right? We have tokenization, and here's all the projects and companies that are affiliated with tokenization. And then you got cross-border. And within cross-border, you've got cross-currency, interoperability. Then you've also got DeFi, which kind of blends into both, and remittances, which is obviously on the cross-border side. Now, what's really interesting about this is when you look at it, you can see the projects that we know so well, right? Cross-border. We know that Project Jura was for cross-border payments by the Bank of International Settlements utilizing R3. We also know that Project Mariana is an AMM, liquidity pool project, okay, also working with R3. We also see the Monetary Authority of Singapore, which, as we said right at the beginning of this episode, Ripple has positioned themselves absolutely perfect in Asia through this Monetary Authority Singapore in approval license that is going to expand their use of on-demand liquidity, right, which actually uses the XRP token. And we can see that they're all in bed together, basically, on this cross-border thing via these projects and via the Monetary Authority of Singapore. We also know on the tokenized side of things that Euroclear is actually a Ripple partner. And obviously Jura links into Ripple by the connections that we've talked about previously as well. Now, if we go a little bit further down, we can see that the DeFi value added features, the extra features we can add on top of payments and cross-border payments is, again, Monetary Authority of Singapore and Project Mariana. Okay, so these are popping up all the time together, and we know Project Mariana is an AMM liquidity pool kind of project to test to see how the value transfer of CBDCs could go through a pool of liquidity. Right? We hear this all the time with XRP. Understanding that the license with the Monetary Authority of Singapore that Ripple has allows them to increase their use of XRP in on-demand liquidity, and understanding that Project Mariana is literally a liquidity pool offering, and they both fit within that DeFi value added section on the Bank of France's report. This shows us everything we need to know. Over the last couple of weeks, the connections that have previously been feeling like, okay, we're speculating here, but this makes sense, they're really starting to come together now, and I feel like the answers are all starting to be revealed. If you enjoyed this video and you got value from it, please do leave a comment and let me know how you felt about this video. Click like on your way out. If you want to see more videos from me, and actually ones where I talk to experts, you can click the video down there. You can also click the other video, and that's the video that the algorithm believes is the perfect video for you. You can also click my face to subscribe to this channel, and stay tuned for all the important updates. Stay emotionless, and I'll see you in the next one.